Bars is back. Sam Ant. Oh God. What's up with?
Attention all my business owners, if you would like to advertise your business right before each video that we do here on Hip Hop News Uncensored, make sure you email us right now, advertise at hiphopun.com, advertise at hiphopun.com, ask about our holiday specials.
Uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. Hip Hop Uncensored is the vibe, so subscribe. Oh God, driving.
Who didn't want to be slaves killed themselves or jumped off into the water.
Right.
So there is something to it. I reserve judgment on it,
Fair enough. Appreciate that.
For sure. I wanted to ask you about we didn't get a chance to talk about this the last time. Deion Sanders. What's your thoughts on him moving on, from Jackson State, moving over to I think it's Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on that? A lot of people calling him a sellout for doing.
Why is he a sellout?
People were just calling him that because the reason why people were saying it because they thought that he kind of represented that he was going to, ride this thing out with HBCUs and be there for the long haul. We didn't kind of expect him to jump off and at the first offer to another college.
Maybe there's another story involved. He donated a lot of his time, energy, and money into promoting them, but did they do the same thing for themselves? Now, there's a problem with a lot of HBCUs, and that some of the administrators aren't doing right with the funds. So is that the case here? Other point is that where he's going is to Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado has had several black mayors because there is a very significant black population in Denver, Colorado. He might wind up actually impacting more black people going to Denver, where he runs into the much larger black population that is matriculating through the school system in Colorado. So is he reaching more black people or fewer ones? Is he doing what Jackie Robinson did? Is he doing what Don Barksdale did? Translation: Barksdale was the first brother to play in the NBA, played with the Lakers. Is he doing what Kenny Washington did? Translation: Kenny Washington was the first brother to play with the NFL. He played with the Rams. By the way, all three of them were in the same football backfield at UCLA. Now, is he doing that? Opening the doors for somebody black being head coach at a major mainstream university? That's not a bad thing. Now, come on. I mean, is football that important any damn way? I played it in high school and in college, but when they wanted me to red shirt the second year, I said, I have better things to do.
Right.
So it is what it is.
Did you see Ed Reed? He just recently, he was with Bethune-Cookman, very excited, was happy to hear that. Then he went on live and went in on the conditions at the university. And then in a very emotional situation this weekend, he had to bow out, saying that there were some things that kind of, as you were alluding to, misappropriations and things that were promised to him that weren't given from the university. And he was very upset about that. Did you hear that story? And what do you think about it?
I don't know the accuracy, but it is something to be concerned with if you're working with one. Yeah. There's also some other things need to be corrected at HBCUs. I was visiting the area with a friend. She's a colleague. She's a judge, and our daughter was going down to Clark, where she went in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Clark, Spelman, and Morehouse have the same campus. We were going over to see the dean of students. Now, this has been 6-7 years ago. We couldn't get in because two students, 123 and 121-year-old, they were girls, were having a fight. And they were upset about what they'd been saying to each other online, on Facebook, I think it was. No more debt cleared up. We went to talk to the dean in question about something. More chaos broke loose because their mothers were out there fighting.
Mm.
Now, what in the devil is going on? Now, we saw all this strangeness. They were males with tights on and little short dresses over the tights and coiffed hair and makeup and these big purses. And they had on flip flops. So when they got to the sidewalk, they kicked off the flip flops, pulled out the high heel pumps, put the hoop earrings in. And after they pulled the tights off, and it's like, wow, that was to get around the dean who had said not on campus. But then they were mad at the dean for saying that. And before they put the pumps on, after they kicked the flip flops off, they pulled off the tights. So what's happening here? I mean, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, but is that where you want to confine yourself to the rest of your professional career when you have an opportunity to make the big time?
With that, Judge, I gotta ask you. You talked about how some of these baseball, basketball players moved on from Negro League, to the so-called White League. When will we ever start seeing some type of, progress if we always keep jumping over and not staying to try to fix, the issues that we have? In your opinion?
Well, why do we have to continue to spend our money and time patronizing these particular games instead of using our considerable economic clout to do what we want? They'll be quick to banish Kaepernick because they don't want to lose the box office revenue, ticket office revenue. We do the same thing. And see, move to something like this and you can open up a lot. We all know Grambling produces a lot of football players, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
First two, Deacon Dan Towler and Tank Younger, 1949. The Rams hired them. They were the first two black folk out of Grambling to play for the NFL. They had the door open for them because the Rams had hired Kenny Washington, and then they hired Woody Strode, who became an actor. So that's how the door got open to historical black colleges and universities furnishing football players, Tank Younger and Deacon Dan Towler. I met Deacon Dan Towler, not Deacon Jones, who was a lineman years later, but Deacon Dan Towler. He was 6'5" and weighed 250 pounds when he played for the Rams on defense. He was a defensive end, which is about right size, but he was the halfback on offense. Can you imagine tackling somebody 6'5" and 250 pounds? And I used to date his secretary. And he said to me when he was showing me some of the films, he said, "But you should have seen Tank. Tank was a defensive tackle. He was 6'4" and weighed 275, and he was the Rams fullback, running back." Now, that must have been mayhem. Remember, they don't have all those face masks and Rydell helmets that they do now. So, yeah, but you see, that opens some doors. So, by analogy, it would be homeboy needs to stay where he was, and if Tank Younger and Deacon Dan Towler just said, "No, we're going to coach at Grambling." They got offered the opportunity to be assistant coaches. We wouldn't have all these black folk playing in the NFL now that we can watch and enjoy.
Very well put.
Yeah, good perspective. You got anything else?
Yeah, I want the Bill Cosby. Did we talk about that last time? I don't think
Nope.
so.
No.
Bill Cosby. If you can, we have a very close relationship with his crisis manager. We had him on, a few times.
I know.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
How do you feel about that whole saga with Bill Cosby now? It seems like they won't leave this man alone.
They never will. See, they keep
Right.
on. They want to keep riding this dead horse. And
Right.
somewhere in here, you have to deal with personal accountability. Now, I didn't hear anything said about him forcibly raping anybody.
Right.
I heard a lot of stuff that was consistent with what was going on more than 50 years ago, which was sex, drugs, rock and roll, sex, drugs, hip hop, sex, drugs, TV, sex, drugs, movies, sex, drugs, basketball, football, baseball, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a lot of that. I heard sex, drugs, and BBD or BBC, but we had a sexual revolution going on then where girls would walk around college campuses see through with no pockets and no bra, see everything.
Wow.
We had the sexual revolution where girls would show up at parties to get high, get the drugs, get the whiskey, get the wine, and screw somebody in the off upstairs bedroom, screw several somebodies because it was an adventure. So you see people that purportedly were in that era. And if you were a grown man, young grown man then, and you saw what it looked like, you'd say, wow, that was what they were there for.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they complaining about? Well, I don't like to see women abused. But I mean, nobody's talking about that. They're just talking about remorse from trying to jumpstart something by getting connected. And once they got the connection, they couldn't make it happen. Now, where my show was at KTLA Channel 5. That's where they shot it. Also, Judge Judy and Maybelline Ephraim from Divorce Court. She was shot on the same lot. And it used to be the Warner Brothers studio before it became the TV studio. It's right at Van Ness and Sunset Boulevard. Now, they renovated the offices for my show. We called it the Plantation because it looked like that. So when they tore the sheetrock down, we discovered these steps that went down to some underground passageways. And it was fascinating walking through them because they had diagrams. And the person that had this office where the executive producer occupied for my show, Cecil B. DeMille, who had been the big man for Warner Brothers way back when, they were maps and diagrams so that he could go underground and up some stairs to these bungalows that used to be at the top of the stairs, go in through them so nobody could see them. And they had all of these starlets were there so he could do casting couch stuff. Wow. Nowadays, that's very unpopular to do the casting couch thing, but 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 45 years ago, it was not unusual. Now they still do casting couch, but it's not heterosexual anymore.
Could you explain exactly what the casting couch is for the people who don't know?
Well, that's when you try to jumpstart a questionable career, not with talent, but by
Gotcha.
Getting casted.
We'll make an exchange for the part,
Right.
Wow.
That I did have a few other questions, in particular to some of our soul queens in the industry. My first one is about Aretha Franklin. I think you probably had to hear about it.
It's going on now about
How they're trying to say the woman are free and people are transgender, people are now offended or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
Seems like they do this to our legends.
The answer to that one what are you and you, what am I, and everybody else you see, except for very, very few unfortunates who came out of a test tube.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
A successful screw.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And to have a successful screw, you need a man and a woman. So I got born to a natural woman. You got born to a natural woman. You got born to a natural woman, and everybody else did, because they don't have machines for that these days. So we're supposed to throw natural women out and get upset with somebody singing it because we've got what amounts to the trans community. It's somewhere around 0.3% of the country's population. So because that little minuscule amount gets upset because they have some problems with themselves, that doesn't mean the rest of us have to get into that. That's their business.
Right.
Get your freak on in your bedroom the way you want to get your freak on, but the rest of us, we don't necessarily go with that flow. We're not riding with you.
Yeah, your bedroom, your business. My next question would be about Whitney Houston. I don't know if you've seen the Lifetime movie. Somebody had it on in my house today. My wife had it on in the house, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, "What the hell is this?" Like the first 10 minutes was about Bobby Brown, and then the drug use, and then further on, it always seems as though when they highlight Whitney Houston, it's never about the good. We never get to hear about her greatness and how she grew up in any of the good. It's always glamorizing what we all know and being the negative. But what's your thoughts if you've seen the movie from Lifetime? What's your
I'm
thoughts?
not going to see a movie like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, well, I don't think it's exactly accurate to put the blame all on Bobby Brown's shoulder. After all, he was considerably younger than she was.
Mm-hmm.
And some others might have something to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
I had bodyguards in security, and some of them had been involved, and what they had to say was not necessarily what the mainstream media was saying. So everybody has to take responsibility for their own actions. And part of this thing is not just trying to tear her down. That's not what this group is doing. They're trying to show you that it's all right. In other words, if you want to go do this, okay. It's always advantageous when you get attracted into something and then you self-destruct. It means they don't have to worry about you. And getting into that means you don't create mischief by trying to do something effective.
Good. Definitely appreciate you, Judge Joe Brown, on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. Once again, drop your businesses, your social media, anything else you want to say right now. The floor is open, Judge.
Yeah, I'm running for mayor of Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Please visit jjb2023.com. That's Judge Joe Brown in 2023. Just take the initials, jjb2023.com, and see what we're up to, what our policies are about. We just put this in place. The election is in October this year. You can contribute, because $1 for me is $1 for yourself. If you live in Memphis, a vote for me is a vote for yourself. I'm trying to straighten things out. I'm not trying to hide what I'm about. I'm very open when it comes to me. In other words, I don't care whether you like it. It's what you need to hear. It's what I've come to think. With a half century of experience in dealing with this, that these are the ways to get solutions. These are the ways that you can find yourself. These are the ways that you can grow. And I'm trying to pass it on. Now, Memphis can become a mecca for this country, and we invite you to immigrate. Be legal now. We don't want any illegals, but if you're legal, come on through. JJB 2023, Shin Brown downtown. Take back your town. It belongs to you. Now, there's another JJB. JJB BBQ, Judge Joe Brown Barbecue. JJBBBQ.com. We're on the shelves in quite a few hundred places out in California, and we're expanding back east and south. And you can go on JJBBBQ.com and order yourself some. I would suggest the 3-pack because it's most economical when it comes to shipping. Now, we have spices, the barbecue sauce, and other products, chicken links, spicy and mild, smoked and unsmoked. And they are packed by the only Black-owned USDA certified packing plant in California. And there's a sister that runs that. If you want to take the stuff and you live in LA, go down into the hood on 79th and Western. And there's a place on that corner called D's, as in Delta, Original Takeout Grill. That's Chef Damon. He's an interesting brother, and he does a lot of stuff for celebrities. And he can get you real squared away on beef, pork, duck, chicken, turkey, goat, lamb, you name it. So check it out if you're in Los Angeles. D's Original Takeout Grill on 79th and Western. Now, JJB2023.com and JJBBBQ.com.
We appreciate you, Judge Joe Brown. Go check out those links right now. Until next time, sir, always appreciate the wisdom and wealth of knowledge, and we'll see you next time. Judge Joe Brown on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. Salute.
Thanks again, sir.
There you go. My pleasure, young